Any fat that's stored in the fat cells can be used to make ketones, but they're made by the liver, and the liver creates these ketones in response to a lack of glucose, which is the normal fuel for the brain. So if we didn't have ketones, people during starvation would probably die within a week or 10 days. Now, a normal young man would live maybe 60 days because of the existence of ketones, which provide an efficient source of fuel for the brain when other sources are not available.
And isn't it, in fact, a preferred source of fuel? If you had glucose and ketones side by side, would the brain have a preference?
I wouldn't call it a preference. I think it's metabolically appropriate that when ketones are there, the brain will use them.
Okay.
But under normal conditions, the blood levels of ketones are so low that the ketones are really not available to the brain in any significant degree. If you bring ketone levels up to about, let's say 3 times or 5 times normal, then the brain starts using them. And at these levels, you get maybe up to 9% of the brain's metabolism is provided by ketone energy.
So once you heard about Dr. Cahill's research, where did what component of that really intrigued you?
Well, once we realized that the ketones are an important fuel for the brain, then we became interested in the research of Dr. Richard Veach at the NIH, who had shown that ketones are a very efficient source of fuel, that ketones increase the efficiency of the heart as a pumping mechanism. So immediately we thought, well, maybe ketone diets or raising blood ketones would be helpful to people with failing hearts. And that's a hypothesis that hasn't been tested, but it's certainly worth looking at.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we also began to realize that some of these neurological or neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, are related to starvation in the brain of fuel and maybe improper or inadequate utilization of glucose.